What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Purple and SKOL'd Media. It is your boy SK. I am here with my guy Dante from East Coast Gridiron. We're gonna talk some draft picks, man. This is what you do. But before we get down to it, how you feeling? How you doing, man? Your season, is it over? Is it starting? Where are we at?
It's yeah, we're well into it right now. Like, I just started setting up everything for the Six Sliders episode. So if y'all know about that, it'll be on Brian Branch here soon. So
The guy you wanted us to get.
yeah. So it'll be on Brian Branch, so I can kind of tease everybody on what you guys missed out on. But
You too, man. You too.
oh yeah, me too. We was in prime position to get him as well. But it is what it is. But yeah, man. I mean, we're kind of at the beginning of the season, but of course, on in my parts, the season doesn't really end; it just restarts over again. So
Yeah, no, you're already talking about the 2024 draft, and Vikings fans are going to be heavily involved in that, especially with the quarterback position. But we're here to talk about the 2023 draft and what we came away with, and we're going to get some in-depth analysis from Dante today. I can give you only so much. I got to turn to the professionals to give me the real analysis. You know what I'm saying? So Dante's going to do that for us. But just overall, obviously, I want to start with Jordan Addison. But overall, as the entire draft for the Minnesota Vikings, how did you feel about the draft? I mean, you pretty much studied every player damn near that got drafted this year and some that didn't get drafted. How would you analyze the Vikings draft as a whole?
I gave it a C. As far as a grade. I think you guys are middle of the road, and a lot of people will look at that and they'll say, "Oh my God, that's such a bad grade," and it's not. I mean, more so, why I gave you guys a C versus a C minus or a D.
Yeah,
is you guys filled in 4 out of the 5 positions that you guys really needed. So going into the draft, you needed a cornerback, you picked him up. You need a wide receiver, you picked him up. Defensive tackle, you got that. Another backup quarterback, you got that. And then guard was really the one spot that I had on my list that you guys really needed to find some depth with, just in case, because you guys had some injuries, last season that, kind of didn't help your offense down the road. But
losing Bradbury hurt, which again sounds crazy, but we lost Bradbury towards the end of the season. Came back for that playoff game and looked like the old Bradbury. He actually had a really good year before he got injured, but. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I would probably grade it. Dang, I didn't grade it that bad as a C. I would say a B minus. I mean, as a fan, you always kind of have that. Oh, you start to fall in love with players, or not necessarily fall in love with them, but you really like a certain player that you never heard of before 2 weeks ago. So it's normal. It happens. So I would give the team an overall B minus. Jordan Addison, love the pick. That's going to be great. Blackman, I don't know. I'm gonna let you fill me in on Blackman a little bit, but that one was kind of a little bit of a head scratcher for me. But I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, so I'm not gonna sit here and complain. But let's start with Jordan Addison, man. So obviously we know what type of route running he brings and everything, and obviously we need somebody to fill that void that we had with Adam Thielen. But what do you feel about the Jordan Addison pick?
I think it was excellent. When you guys drafted him on my stream, I was super happy for you guys, because I was like, I think we mocked one. I think I mocked one on Rap's channel too, of him going to you guys. And it's kind of crazy to me that he still, fell to 24. But, you guys got him. He was the best available pick for what I think you guys needed. And I don't just like it because, he's my number 1 quarterback on my consensus board. Like, out of all wide receivers, he was my number 1 wide receiver. I like the fact that the pairing with him and Justin Jefferson, he's going to complement him really well, because I don't feel like he's going to take the snaps away from him. I think what he's going to do is be able to bail out your offense in ways that Adam Thielen couldn't do last year, and you guys missed Jalen Naylor because of injury, and KJ Osborne wasn't as consistent as you would have liked him to be. And I think that's what he's going to give you. More so of anything, he's going to give you consistency all over the place. Look, we're talking about the former Bolitnikov winner. I mean, he is the reason why Kenny Pickett got a high draft pick last year. You know, I truly believe that. And then
Caleb
he come
Williams
in and
got a Heisman.
Yep, and Caleb Williams got a Heisman, and he had him for a good portion of the season. He was injured, but having him out there is better than not having him out there at all either, too. So the one thing that when I look at Jordan Addison, I love everything about him. I love the hands, I love the route running, I love the I'm going to get in your face and try to do anything off my assignment. If I have to block, I'm going to block. Like, he's willing to do anything, willing to play inside, willing to take an end around snap. Like, he doesn't care. Just give him the ball. The one thing that he's lacking is the fifth gear. He does not have that. So JJ is going to be a lot faster than him downfield. Jordan Addison's not necessarily going to be that. He's not going to be a burner. So
you would say kind of Addison is just as crafty, but not as speedy as you would say Justin Jefferson is, maybe.
Yeah, I would also say that I think the one thing that he has over Justin Jefferson is he's going to be a consistent ball catcher more so. And it's kind of crazy to say because Justin Jefferson, in most regards, some people have him in their top 3 or top 5. I have him in my top 5. But the one, I know you've seen it. You've seen all their games. You've seen Justin Jefferson drop those balls that he probably shouldn't, but then come down with the amazing one-hand catches every once in a while. It's a little inconsistent, you know, but
I mean, every superstar wide receiver is that. You can look back in history. Look back at T.O., Randy Moss. They all kind of had their drop problems, but they always come down with the tough ones, or they seem to come down with the tough ones. So.
Yeah, and Jordan Addison's going to be able to give you every single catch imaginable, the one-handed catches, the the ones going across the middle and getting popped. He's going to hold on to the ball. So, and he's a smaller guy too. I don't want people to get confused. He is a smaller guy, so I hope he does beef up at the next level. But outside of that, he gives you kind of like a one-up in catching because he's so consistent with it. But he's going to downgrade you when it comes to down the field speed. But I don't think that's what you guys necessarily drafted him to do. I think he's going to be a Swiss Army knife over the middle of the field and hit intermediate routes. And Kirk's going to love that because he can just toss it down to JJ every single time now.
Yeah, I think kind of what it does for the team, it gives us, I'm not going to say it's another Justin Jefferson. That's an extreme reach, but
somebody compared him to him. I'm like, they're two completely.
Yeah, I would say he's more of a Devontae Smith, just size-wise, just kind of the way he, in my opinion.
That's a good comparison. And you know why I think it's good? Because I think in the next 2 years, they're going to be the best duo. I don't think it's going to be this year. Yeah. I think it'll possibly be next year where you'll start hearing the AJ Brown and Devontae Smith comparison. Like, who's the better duo? And Jordan Addison was right. I honestly think, and I'm not just saying it because I was on your show. I said this to my guys the other day. I said that's going to be the best duo here in the next 2 years. Mark my words.
The rich history, you got it. As a Vikings fan, it makes us very proud to have just like a great lineage of like great receivers, man. Like, you look back, obviously you got Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Stephon Diggs, but you can even go back even further to Anthony Carter and guys like that. So
I think this is the second coming of Chris Carter and Randy Moss. Like, to be completely honest, I'm not saying that they're going to be Hall of Fame type players like that. We just don't know that yet. Yeah. But it's going to remind you of that. The hands and the sureness of Chris Carter with the blazing speed and the amazing catches that Justin Jefferson is going to give you. That's literally what I see, like, incarnated with when you guys picked it up.
Stop flirting with me, Dante.
I'm not trying to, man. I watched Jordan Addison a long time, man. I watch every single snap of his. So.
Oh man, that just sounds great. Take it in, everybody. We're gonna mark this down, and when they both make Hall of Fame, we're gonna come back to Dante and we're gonna give him his flowers. All right, y'all.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed by Jordan Addison, man. There was no question to me having him on number 1 on my board and me defending it every single time because I don't think there's
him being the third receiver, or it was third or fourth receiver off the board. It was a fourth, right?
It was. Hold on.
Njigba, Njigba, Quentin Johnson, and Zay Flowers.
Let me double check here. Yep, he was the fourth one out.
Fourth receiver off the board.
21 through 23 were all receivers. Quentin Johnson, Zay Flowers, and Jordan Addison.
And that shocked me that receivers fell that far in the draft, which is did that shock you at all? Were you expecting receivers to fall?
No, I was more surprised that this many receivers went in this round.
Oh wow.
Compared to a lot of the talent that was out there. So this really tells you that people really like what they saw. But again, a lot of teams are going to try to find that surefire bet, like we had talked before, right? Sometimes they'll make teams will make a pick trying to make a a decision on who's going to be their star player, not necessarily for need, but what their future is possibly going to be like. So you have to do that into play. Like I hated the Jackson Smith and Jigbo's pick. I really did. Because
Did you?
I'm not a big fan of having three wide receivers on the team that all do similar things. Like
Yeah.
they have three outside receivers and people are like, he's gonna play in the slot. If you watch Jackson Smith and Jigba, he was the best. He was the best receiver on his team for almost 3 years until Marvin Harrison Jr. came.
Mm.
And you know he got hurt last year. But the thing about it is he don't play in a slot like that, and then people
Yeah.
just automatically assume that's where they're gonna put him. And I think Tyler Lockett's on his way out the door. To be completely honest with you, so.
Oh really? With like retiring or just out the door with
Just
Seattle?
out the door of Seattle. He's like 30 years old now, and
Yeah, it makes sense.
I still think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the league, to be completely honest with you. I think he's a dog, but you don't pick Jackson Smith and Jigba unless you're thinking about moving one of those guys.
Yeah, no, that's true. Or DK's got to get paid.
Yeah,
No?
DK's got to get paid too. So somebody going to be on the trade block. I don't know who it is, but somebody's going to be on the trade block.
But back to these Vikings. So what I think it does for this offense, just regarding KJ Osborne, I think it allows KJ to kind of expand and improve in the role that he's already in. So he doesn't have the pressure of necessarily taking on that wide receiver too, which I'm sure he wants, obviously. And I don't think we're just going to hand the keys over to Jordan Addison necessarily, but I think we all know kind of what it is. It's 1, 2, 3 with KJ, in the back. But
yeah,
for KJ, it allows him to expand in his role and be better than what he was last year. I think he was really, really good last year. He got us back into the Colts game, I feel like. There was a few other games where he kind of almost carried this offense to get back in because he was allowed the opportunities. Now he has another year under his belt to expand that, and now we have another first-round wide receiver rookie that teams are kind of going to be looking for. You got Justin Jefferson, but they're going to have in the back of their head, hey, there is, this young guy, Jordan Addison over here. We're going to test them a little bit, but, who knows? So I think this allows KJ to expand in his role and improve in his role. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, I agree with you. And KJ did most of his work on the outside of the ball too. So, one of those things that when I heard this pick, I was like, they're probably going to put Jordan Addison on the outside and let Justin Jefferson move right back inside like he did a lot in college and things like that. And I think that's what's going to make him really happy too. It's like I can play all over the field now. I don't have to worry about just primarily playing on the outside or, me flip-flopping with Thielen. It's like he can stick and move wherever he needs to now in that offense. And you're going to get a lot of that old school Justin Jefferson that we saw at LSU, which is going to be really exciting for you guys.
I want to see one of these games. I want to see one of these games. I want to see that again.
So you're gonna see it. I can almost guarantee that you're gonna see it with Jordan Addison being there. KJ Osborne is gonna be forced to step up too, because Jordan Addison's, KJ having Jordan Addison there, who's known to be a workhorse too. Like you don't transfer from Pitt, then go to USC and follow a coach like Lincoln Riley and wanted to be so highly touted and get somebody like Caleb Williams a Heisman Trophy and Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Panthers to an ACC championship game. That doesn't happen unless you're a baller.
So I'm sure you've seen Caleb Williams' excitement for Jordan Addison and kind of the posts he's been putting on his Instagram. A lot of Vikings related stuff.
Yeah.
You think there's anything to it? I mean, obviously, the draft is a long ways away, but what do you think Caleb Williams might be thinking? Just for shits and giggles,
I think right now he's living in the moment.
He is.
It's wishful thinking, right? It's like I mean, because you're hoping that the Vikings don't do as good as what you hope, so you can go play with your boy. But then you
Yeah.
also don't wish that for your teammate that just got drafted too. So, but I think he's just living in excitement, which is really good. I'm glad that they had that relationship in college, and within 1 year, because that wasn't his original quarterback. So, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that those guys mean so much to each other, because if he does end up getting drafted to you guys and he doesn't fall on his face like I think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna fall on his face this year, but I
No.
just don't think he's gonna have the Heisman season like everybody thinks he will. I
Uh-huh.
mean, you start getting comparisons to Patrick Mahomes and being this,
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody said he's a more refined version of Patrick Mahomes, and it's like, is anything about Patrick Mahomes' game refined?
Right.
Like it's not refined. He's just a freak. Like he's unpredictable. So I mean, if you look up refined in a dictionary, it means something totally different than what you think it
Yeah.
does. But yeah, I think he's just living in the moment. But that was cool to see, though. Him and his boys all
Yeah.
hyped up that he got drafted where he did, because he
He-
knows that him and JJ are going to cook together. So
Oh man, it's gonna be a sight to see. I know all Vikings fans out there excited to see that. So real quick, give a grade for the Vikings first round pick Jordan Addison.
it is an A,
Not an A plus. A.
not an A plus, but A.
All right.
What I would have liked to see from you
Trade
guys,
back, right?
well, and not even with the trades. I just in that spot you had Deontay Banks that went right after you guys.
Yeah.
Deontay
Yeah.
Banks went. I was like, I wish they could have caught him. Or I know Brian Bresee went later, but Brian Bresee would have gave you an A plus to me. But it's one of those things where it's like I understand the pick and I'm happy for you guys that
It
you
would be
got.
hard to pass on Addison.
And it was hard to pass on. Yep. So it's a combination of those things, but if I'm grading exactly what you should have took versus what you did take, I think we're grasping at straws a little bit, but I give it an A. I give it an A. So
We're reaching here. We're looking for something. Why isn't it A plus?
yeah.
I wanted us to trade back. I wasn't against this pick at all. But ideally I wanted us to trade back and say if we get Jordan Addison 2, 3, 4 picks later, that would have been great too. But
I think it hurt you guys not having a second round pick, because remember the mock drafts we did. I'm like, you trade with the Saints, get their second round pick or something, because it's like, I mean, if you looked at the second round, that's where the meat and potatoes of this draft was.
Yeah, it
like,
was. And we're just watching it pass by too. I was like, damn.
Joey Porter, Michael Mayer,
Yeah.
Steve Avila, Jonathan Mingo, Matthew Bergeron.
Those are all guys you could have traded up for in the second, like a few teams did, right? If I'm not mistaken, who traded up in that second round?
So it was the Titans that traded up and got Will Levis.
For Levis. And one more team, I think, traded up.
I think the Lions traded up with Arizona, if I remember right,
yes,
and they got
Campbell,
Sam Laporta.
Right?
They got Sam Laporta.
Porta. That's right, Porta.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those a bunch of trades, man.
Let me do some shout outs. We got our guy Moneyappolis, Minnesota. My guy with the greatest name of all time.
Yeah, that's
Love
cool.
it. Thank you for tapping in. Our guy, Mr. Mock, Bob Sweet, he's ready to mock the 2024 draft with you, Dante. So
I don't even do that. I do that in February.
Man, Mr. Mock, Bob's on it. Sodak Kid, my guy tapping in.
What up, Sodak?
Tapping in, Sodak. My guy, SKOL'd Mafia, Mike. What's going on, my guy? Coach Dante.
Yeah, Coach Dante. Yeah. What's up, man?
Your boy?
Yeah, that's my boy right there.
Okay, and we got Yogi in the house. What's up, Yogi?
Yogi.
Appreciate you guys tapping in. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to put it in the comment box. We'll get to them. I'll throw it up. If you have one for Dante, if you have one for me, hell, even if it's just NFL talk, throw it up, man. We talk ball. But we're keeping it Viking-centric right now. So we're going to move on to our second round pick, which we traded away for TJ Hawkinson. I feel like that was a pretty good pickup. And we move on to our third round pick, which we actually traded back with the 49ers with. I think it was about 13, 14 spots to draft Mekhi Blackman, cornerback out of USC. In my opinion, was kind of a surprise. I wasn't expecting him to be the pick there. I felt like you could have got him a little later, but who am I to know? I felt like that was a Brian Flores pick. first round pick, we got our wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of just handed the keys over to Brian Flores and say, hey, cook. So what do you feel about Mekhi Blackman, quarterback out of USC?
The thing, there's 3 names that I'll give you that I think were better than him, and then I'll get into how I feel.
Was it Riley Moss there?
Riley Moss got chosen before him in the 3rd round. He went to the Broncos. So you got Keely Ringo, Clark Phillips, and Jacorian Bennett from Maryland that all got chosen after he did. So why was that and here's the other thing. There was Corey Trice got picked up from Purdue in like the 6th or 7th round. And if you looked at the trend, a lot of people were picking up cornerbacks in the later rounds. So it's like, you know, and even some of those, like Corey Trice I had rated higher than Mekhi Blackman. But I mean, again, here's what I'll say about it. Do I like the pick? Absolutely not. Because I like Clark Phillips. I think he was like my 2nd or 3rd rated cornerback in this draft. But you have to think on the other side of this equation that Jordan Addison was there. They went to school together. Who knows this guy better than Jordan Addison? Because what the Vikings probably had said is to Jordan Addison is like, if you're there, we're coming to get you. And what's your opinion on your teammate Mekhi Blackman? If he's on the board, should we pick him up? So you never know. I don't know what those conversations was like behind doors, but it's smart. I mean, Mekhi Blackman was getting a lot of praise because you know, he was one of the best defenders on USC. USC's defense sucked. The 2 bright spots were Tuli Tuipulotu and Mekhi Blackman. Everybody else sucked. But here's what I'll also say about Mekhi Blackman, because a lot of people are going to go to PFF right now, type up his name, and they're going to see all the grades that he got. But they didn't. I mean, he got grades against really bad teams too, and that's one thing that PFF doesn't consider is strength of the opponent when they're giving grades. Like you can get a 99 against Rutgers if you're Florida, you know, but you're supposed to because they're Rutgers. You know what I'm saying? You got 5 and 4 stars all over your offense. Like you should be able to piece them up. But you know, here's the other thing too. I don't think it was that great of a pick. So I gave this one a D. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it was kind of a head scratcher to me. I wanted a guy in Clark Phillips who I'm not sure on his size. Do you have his size at the top of your head?
I know Clark Phillips is smaller, but here's what he's 5'9", 184 pounds. But here's what I'll say about Clark Phillips, because people are gonna ask him tell you about his size. He was the best cornerback. He was the best cornerback available that everybody looked on, possibly because of his size. But I'm sure if you ask Jordan Addison who gave him the most trouble, it was him. Because in that game when they played together, Clark Phillips got him some, Jordan Addison got him some. It was one of the best wide receiver cornerback battles. So I mean, if I was Jordan Addison, I'd be like, look, the dude that gave me the most headache is Clark Phillips. If you're not gonna pick Mekhi, you pick him and go look at him on this film. He plays a lot bigger than what you actually think he does. He's fast, man. He's physical. He's not afraid to tackle. Good in press, good in zone. I mean, there's not a lot of bad things I could say about Clark Phillips. I'm a Clark Phillips stan, but I seen it on film. Yeah, I seen it on film too.
So on to the next round, and thank you, Mike Sports Vibe, for tapping in. We're gonna talk about Jaren Hall and about 2 more picks. But moving on to round 4, another head scratcher for me. Jay Ward. This is a guy I didn't do any research on. I'll be honest, going into the draft, I said, who? Like, who's Jay Ward? So
Jay Ward shouldn't have been picked this high. Yeah. So Jay Ward played a very interesting spot for LSU last year. I guess LSU had a pretty good defense, but I guess you could say the worst part of their defense was their secondary, and he was a big part of that. I'm drawing a blank on the game that I remember watching, but I was like, who's that? I mean, he like whiffed on a tackle. It was a couple games, and it was Jay Ward. I think you guys are gonna draft him to be like a special teams kind of guy. I mean, and possibly try to develop under somebody like Harrison Smith. But I don't. For a 4th round pick to go after him is like such a head scratcher. Yeah. Not his teammate that you picked up in the 5th round, I think is great.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to him in just a second too. And I think he was actually well, yeah, we'll talk about him in a second. But no,
Yeah.
again, the Jay Ward was kind of a head scratcher, and that, you obviously you hear the pundits and you hear everybody on YouTube and Twitter throwing up highlights of the guy, and even the highlights weren't necessarily like standout to
Highlights
me.
are called highlights for a reason.
Yeah, so like, and it's not a shot against the guy. I mean, you can just be a consistently good player, and it doesn't have to be flashy, and you're just making plays all over the field. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just didn't see anything from him to tell me, okay, this is the guy we should have picked in the 4th round. And I'm not sure who was left at that point. I forgot. There were so many names that went through my head watching the entire draft. But it was just another head scratcher for me. I wanted to go interior defensive line, and we obviously filled that need later on in the draft. But it was a head scratcher to me. I just didn't know where he's going to fit in on this defense. We already got Lewis Seen, Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus. God, who else? I know I'm missing 1 or 2 other safeties that are on the roster. So we don't have necessarily a spot for him to fill unless, like you said, his special teams. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make the team. I don't think he makes the roster.
The consensus #1 safety on a lot of big boards for Antonio Johnson, and we got him in Jacksonville. But he fell to the 5th round. So it's like, if you're going to pick a safety,
that's what I'm saying.
Why didn't you go Antonio Johnson just sitting right there? You go Jay Ward, who was he's not a good coverage guy. I mean, he's an awful tackler. And then as a safety, you have to be good at tackling. You have a dude half his size with Brian Branch that's all over the field and making plays and crunching people. But then you go after Jay Ward. Yeah, I don't get it either. And I mean, people are going to try to hype him up as he's something, but I don't see him being more than a gunner on the special teams team.
Yeah, they're pretty much saying he's a versatile player. He can play multiple positions.
I'll give him that. Yeah, I've seen him playing the nickel too. But his run stopping ability, I mean, if you're putting him in nickel to play coverage or man to man, that's one thing. But if you're putting him in a nickel to make a tackle on the run game, like LSU did all last season, he would have got an F grade for what I've seen. So, yeah.
So what grade do you give this pick? Oh, he did the back neck rub.
Yeah. This is where. So these are where the 2 picks, your 3rd round pick and this 4th round pick were this is where the dagger happened. Yeah, because I mean, I'll have to give him an E. Like, this is a reach. And I mean, like I said, you have to put everything in perspective. Antonio Johnson was there, and you didn't pick him. And I'm not very high on Antonio Johnson, but I can honestly say at Texas A&M, he was a big part of the reason why their defense was successful. Yeah. And you just missed out on him. You didn't miss out on him. You just didn't pick him. That's what it was.
Yeah, I don't see any other reason besides special teamer for Jay Ward. And Jay Ward, if you're listening, sorry, my guy, prove me wrong. Sorry.
Hey, they might move Byron Murphy to safety before they even allow him to. Byron Murphy's more versatile than him.
Yeah, we got. You know what I will say? We do have a lot of versatility in our secondary now. If you want to throw Jay Ward in on that and want to consider him that, which again I don't think he's going to make the roster because this is one of those for me. But we have a lot of versatility. Cam Bynum, who's played corner and safety. Harrison Smith, who can play the nickel, who can play back at free, can come up in the box. You got a guy in Lewis Seen who can play up or play in the box. You got a lot of versatility. So I think Brian Flores will have fun with it. And this is just outside of Jay Ward. So that just having this conversation kind of just made me realize that we have kind of a lot of the same type of player that can do a lot of different things on this defense, which is actually kind of cool.
It does make it really cool, but what type of defense is Brian Flores going to run? If he runs a 4-2-5, having 5 defensive backs out there, it may be a little cool to see, but I mean, that's why you go pick up Brian Branch. I mean, here's the other thing. That's what's so crazy. You go pick up Brian Branch if that's the case.
Yeah, very true. Well, that would have been great.
I mean, he's a beast at it. I mean, he played the start position at Alabama in the 4-2-5. Like, He's all over the field. He could be an edge rusher too. We seen him line up there. Like it's.
Oh man,
I don't know what this one was an E, man. I was like,
they
this
were
is a reach.
the biggest head scratch of the draft, you would say, right?
No, when the Jacksonville Jaguars picked Brenton Strange in the second round, that was the head scratch of the draft.
Well,
I was like, we need another tight end. Oh my god.
For the Vikings.
Yeah, I would put that as a head scratch.
More than Blackman for sure, because Blackman was still a position of need.
It was a position of need. There you go.
So I understood that, but yeah, no, I feel like this was kind of a throwaway pick. Man,
He might not even make the team.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's gonna make the team. But Yogi says projected Ward as our 5th round sleeper pick, and Roy was my 4th round sleeper pick. Oh, so
I wouldn't be as mad as you guys picked him up in the 5th round, but you guys didn't need a safety. That wasn't one of your needs. You could have picked a guard right here. I wonder. Let's see. I'm gonna go back and look what guards came out.
Order?
Yeah, let's see what guards came out before Jay Ward got.
No, guards didn't start coming off till later in the draft.
Yeah,
I know teams kind of waited on that one.
Yeah, Antonio Mafi was there from UCLA, who I thought was really good. You guys could have picked him right there. You were the second to last pick from the 4th round, and he came out a couple picks later.
Yeah, man, again, head scratcher for me. Definitely a head scratcher. But I think the remaining 3 picks of our draft, I think you have a very good feeling about these guys. So first off, in round 5, defensive tackle Jaquelin Roy. I think that's how you say his name.
Jaquelin, yeah.
Jaquelin, like Key and Peele. Jaquelin Roy, defensive tackle out of LSU, who is actually projected to be a top 15 pick in the early mock draft for the 2023 draft after the 2022 draft. So what happened to Roy, and how do you feel about this pick in the 5th round for the Vikings?
Brian Kelly happened when he went from Notre Dame to LSU.
Yeah.
He's not known to have great defenses.
Very true.
That's what happened. But they played really well, and I think it was just because of their talent level. Their talent said that they were better than their coaching was. So, but that's kind of the reason why he fell. He came in and changed the philosophy of that defense. But Jaquelin was a big part of why they were successful last year, because they were able to stop the run a lot. And up the middle, he was a beast. The thing about him, he's not the fastest guy. He's not going to move his feet. He's not the shiftiest, but up top, he's really, really strong. And things that you see, one-on-one in guys and getting his arms out there to make a tackle and to running back up the middle. Once he got a hold of you, he just helped everybody else on the defense kind of slow that guy down and make a play. So, he's one of those developmental guys with a very big upside. There's a reason why a lot of people in the early mock drafts are put where they are, because of upside. It's just a lot of other people throughout the year step up and situations change, coaching change. That's kind of what happened to him. He was just kind of a mystique of having a bad defensive coordinator and defensive change when Brian Kelly came and changed the philosophy there. But they were a top 10 team at one point. So
yeah, very true. So would you consider him more of a nose tackle or like a 3 tech?
I wouldn't say a nose tackle. I would more say like a 2-eye or 3 tech. I think that's where you put him. A lot of his success came in the 2-eye. So I think that's where he lies, just putting him. And he's good at the pass rush too, if he doesn't have 2 guys double teaming him. So if he can sneak through, he can get to the quarterback. I think he had 6 sacks in his career or something like that. So, he can do it if you allow him to. But yeah, I agree with Yogi. He's just a guy that plugs in the middle of the field and takes up space for sure.
Yeah, but that's the guy we actually needed. We don't have that right now.
I agree. Yeah.
Harrison Phillips, he's kind of guy in the middle there, but I can see him pass rushing. He can kind of hold the block there and kind of swallow up ball carriers.
And Dalvin Tomlinson's not there anymore, right?
And Dalvin Tomlinson's not there. And I think his comparison was Dalvin Tomlinson. So if that's his comparison, it's kind of a, immediate feel for a whole lot cheaper. So, which again is the money ball tactic from Kwesi. If he can find somebody that he feels can do just as good for this amount cheaper, he's gonna go get it. So I like the pick. I like it a lot. It's definitely a position of need. I wanted us to fill that position of need a little earlier because I felt like it was just as much of a need than I feel cornerback was, in my opinion. So because you still have a guy in Andrew Booth who, yes, I know we can say is injury prone. We have a guy in the Caleb Evans, which I don't know.
I wasn't
how
big
he
on
feels.
Andrew Buff last year. I mean, a lot of people were, and I on Andrew Booth, I wasn't high on him at all.
No.
I'm an ACC guy. I mean, Florida State plays in the ACC.
What didn't you like about Booth? I mean, outside of his known injury history, not just in the NFL.
He was. I guess now that we can do the comparison, he was a worse version of Joey Porter Jr. to me.
Ooh.
Like, tries to be physical, wasn't really successful, not the fastest guy, and he wasn't as handsy as you would like him to be. Because these guys are going to do a lot of hand fighting in the NFL, and he didn't really give you that. So I'm not really sure what people really liked about Andrew Booth Jr. Just that he was just a big dude playing cornerback that was quick with his feet. But again, I mean,
and then he was. Oh, my camera went out again. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. But no, he also fell in that draft too. Let's not forget he fell in that draft, and there was a reason why he fell in that draft, and that may be the reason why, outside of his injury history. So
developmental cornerback. I mean, it's like I always surprise myself every single year when I'm not high on somebody and they end up dropping. I'm like, this year was Christian.
A pat on the back or something.
Yeah, like Christian Gonzalez was that one for me, and he went to the right and he went to the right spot. If going to the Patriots is great for him, because I'm not sure he would have even been chosen in the first round. And people are like, "You're wild." I'm like, no, I mean, if anybody can do anything with him, it's gonna be Bill Belichick. Yeah, but again, like I said, I'd rather be wrong by myself than be wrong in a group of idiots too. So
yeah. So what do you grade this pick for the Minnesota Vikings, Jaquelin Roy, in the 5th round?
5th round value, I think, is like where he fits. It fits a need. I'm gonna give you guys a B+ on this one, and the reason why is because he's gonna have some development and stuff to do when he gets to the next level, but his upside is really high. So,
what would you put his comparison as? We heard Dalvin Tomlinson. Who would you compare him to?
That's a great question. To me, he reminds you remember Marcel Darius?
Yes.
He reminds me of Marcel Darius, just not as big and physical as Marcel Darius was.
Okay.
That'd
be nice.
Yeah, Marcel Darius wasn't like again, not get to the quarterback type of dude, but he was super powerful, could bull rush the crap out of you up in the middle and just disrupt everybody. But I think that's his upside, though. I mean, Marcel Darius, when he was in his prime, was awesome. So, but yeah, that's where I see him.
Yeah, what's up, Too Evil to Hope?
Welcome
in. We're talking draft picks. Yeah, I would give it a B+ as well. I like the Jaquelin Roy pick, obviously. Position of need. Again, I wanted us to fill that need earlier in the draft, but we did with the guy with great upside, like you said. And hey, if we get a Marcel Darius out of it, I'll take it. So later on in the 5th round, this is a guy who we actually traded up for after a run on quarterbacks. And obviously, everybody wants to talk about the quarterback position and who's going to be the future of the Minnesota Vikings. And the Vikings drafted Jaren Hall, quarterback out of BYU. What's your opinion on Jaren Hall? I actually remember you being kind of high on Jaren Hall, if I'm not mistaken.
I like Jaren. I've always. This is one quarterback that I can toot my own horn and say that I watch every single snap of his. I got the privilege of interviewing him. Like. He's awesome, man. I mean, here's what I'll say about him before we get into his physical traits, because everybody wants to know what can he do for us, right?
Yeah.
But the number one thing that he's going to be able to do for your team that I don't know if Kirk has the aptitude to do, even though he's been in the league for a long time, he's going to win over that locker room really, really fast when he comes in there.
Okay.
Great attitude, super smart. I mean, he's got a kid and a wife,
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's
Yeah, isn't
mature.
he? He's about 25, 26, right?
Yeah, he's 3 months younger than Hendon Hooker. So
Oh, okay, yeah, he's up there in age.
so you're going to get that leadership quality that you're probably a little lacking from Kirk, which might pull the wool over the eyes of some coaches if Kirk comes in and totally craps the bed. But I'll tell you realistically what you're getting. I think his upside is Chad Henne. Chad Henne,
My God, Chad,
yeah, but
Michigan, baby,
Chad
Michigan.
was a beast. I mean,
He won a playoff game for the Chiefs. People forget about that.
yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing with BYU, and this is what I told him in our interview, and that was on, you know, I feel personally like I kicked that interview out the park because I'll knock that out the park because I knew when I spoke to him, I knew like, oh man, I'm a big fan of yours.
You know we're gonna want to watch it. Go ahead and plug it.
It's on the channel.
Go follow East Coast Gridiron, guys. Go subscribe on YouTube. He's got a personal interview with Jaren Hall.
So I asked Jaren, I said, how do you think your the season that you had at BYU after Zach Wilson had left, I thought that it was a better season, as far as strength of schedule was that you played versus what Zach had played, because they played 5 Pac-12 schools that year. I don't know how that happened, but being a bottom 5 conference school and playing a Power 5 school 5 times, or 5 Power 5 schools, is crazy. And he was very successful. He won several games against his opponents. He was even ranked, I think they got to like rank 13 in the country at BYU. I mean, it was wow, what in the hell is going on? And he was a big part of that. Now, then last year was kind of up and down for him, and he knew that too. And when I asked him, and I was like, how'd you feel about that? But he wasn't down on anything. He had nothing but good things to say about his teammates. Tyler Algier just got drafted to the Falcons last year. Isaac Rex, who, watch out for Isaac Rex if his ankle surgery is okay. He's the best tight end in the class outside of Brock Bowers that's going to come out.
That's coming out in 2024?
2024, yep. Okay. If he stays healthy. But, missing all those pieces, you're in unfamiliar territory too, so you kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. And he's playing at BYU, which they get crushed, every once in a while. So here's what I'll say about Jaren Hall. Jaren Hall struggles with difficult passes that a lot of people have now mastered at this stage of the game. Okay. What's not on his side is his age. And I don't know if a quarterback coach or a normal coach is going to come in and be able to tell him, okay, you need to throw this backside hash curl route. Can you do that? That's a difficult throw to make if you've never made it and made it before. But one thing he's great at is launching that thing down the field, hitting you on the backside pylon of the end zone. That's his bread and butter. But he can have a noodle arm in the shortest of situations. And I don't think it's so here's the one thing that you don't have to teach him is the confidence thing. Okay. You don't have to teach him that. You just have to get him to believe that he can make those passes, because he hasn't made them time and time and time again. Like, he literally lost his team games because he couldn't make that 3rd and 5 pass, or that, that pass right over the middle. He can't do those things. Or I don't know if he's scared to throw through tight windows, but somebody needs to raise his confidence as far as like, you can do it, man. We've seen you put the ball on the money on the backside of the end zone. But why can't you make it in the shortest amount of windows where we just need you to get a first down? I mean, he's got a cannon of an arm when you want him to. And here's the other thing. I heard the comparisons with, I know some people were just joking about with Mahomes and Russell Wilson. He's not like that. Yeah, I mean, he's not like that at all. Yeah, I saw somebody in his comments that said he's more like Dak Prescott, and I think that's a perfect comparison for him.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
his upside is like a Dak Prescott who can look really good as a pocket passer, but can also improvise and take the ball to the outside and get you, a throw on the run as well and get you that first down. Yeah. Again, teach him the confidence of making those passes in tight windows where he's not so scared to do that, but also, he's going to come in and just be a great leader for your team. So, to me, I like the pick, but expectation for Vikings fans. You can't let this cloud your judgment. This is not a starting quarterback. This is a lifetime backup, and the only thing that could possibly give him a starting role in this offense is if Kirk gets hurt and he comes in and just wins. Because I think that's what he needs. I don't think he needs to sit behind anybody. I think he needs to go straight for the goal. And that's not going to happen, unfortunately.
There's no upside really there, right? You get what you paid for right now.
He would have benefited of having one more year in college and hitting the transfer portal and going to a Power 5 school than what he did last year. Is staying at BYU and hoping that he would have had the same season he had before, and it just kind of fell on its face. But he's a COVID kid too. He was on a mission for 2 years because a lot of people are like, oh, he couldn't even beat out Zach. Well, Zach was highly touted out of high school too. And coming back from not playing football for almost 2 years is, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was too many downsides to Jaron coming in and taking that spot. He took the spot. He was a starter for 2 years. He did what he did. He got drafted to you guys in the 5th round. That's, to me, that's one of the best stories that you can write for a guy at his age. Because you have guys like Muhammad Ibrahim that didn't get drafted at all and produced some of the best numbers that we've seen all year. You know, so you could be on that side too. So there's nothing to look down upon.
Yeah, true. So grade it. What's your grade for Jaron Hall in the 5th round?
I'm gonna give this another B+. I really like this pick too. I mean, get you a backup that's gonna allow you to come. You're gonna bring him in, and he's gonna win a couple games, and he's not gonna be scared to. I can tell you this. I can tell you this right now. If Kirk was to be pulled or get injured, and it's the 4th quarter, and it's a 2-minute drill. And all you guys are going to want, don't dink and dunk. Take your shot downfield. You're going to feel good even in the loss of Jaron Hall being your quarterback, and you're going to be like, man, he tried. Yeah. And I'm cool with that. That's what Jaron Hall is going to give you. It's not like you're going to be disappointed because you guys going to know what you got. You know,
it's not going to be, I hate that guy. Even when he wins, you still don't feel like him very kind of like what a lot of fans feel about Kirk Cousins. Oh, he still wins, but it was more the team, or they're not very necessarily fans of Kirk Cousins.
What's homie that was on the Steelers? What's his name? Who's the backup quarterback there? Mason Rudolph. No, Mason Rudolph.
Oh, Mason Rudolph.
You guys he's not going to be Mason Rudolph where you guys are going to have a high-level relationship even with your backup. It's not going to be like that.
Oh, man. So B+ for Jaron Hall. Yeah, I'd like to pick. We got a younger backup quarterback. Gives you something to watch in the preseason to get you excited about, to be honest. I think that's
I think he's going to have a really excellent preseason, to be completely honest
I hope we let him. Well, Kirk won't play. I think Mullins is still on the roster. I think we re-sign him.
He'll beat Mullins out for sure.
He'll beat Mullins. I like Mullins a lot, though. There's just something about him. I don't know if it's because he was in that Shanahan system where he looked,
when he came in, he looked pretty good. I mean, but Brock Purdy did.
Brock Purdy,
yeah. I remember people were like, Nick Mullins might be the future, and then he got a little bit comfortable, and then it fell straight on his face too. So
yeah, again, career backup, Nick Mullins. Not mad to have him as your backup, but no, I'm excited to see him in preseason. I'm looking forward to it. But moving on to our 7th round pick, we traded away our 6th round pick to move up in the 5th to get Jaron Hall. In the 7th round, we addressed the running back room and draft highly touted running back Dwayne McBride out of UAB. Talk to me, Dante. Dwayne McBride.
I like Dwayne McBride. I have been following him since he was, at UAB. I followed him super heavy when he was at UAB. I like everything about Dwayne McBride besides his,
fumbling.
He fumbles a lot. And then also he looks smaller than he actually is. I mean, he's 5'10", 209, but he looks way smaller than that too. But he's kind of one of those home run hitters too. I don't necessarily think when I watch him on film, if you get a hand on him, he tends to tense up a little bit and not gain as much yardage as he probably should have. Which he's going to learn that real quick in the NFL. Like, if you're getting hit, you got to be able to stick and move, man. You can't just stop. But then he also has a home run ability where if there's a hole, you're not gonna catch him either. But again, who are we kidding ourselves here? He played at University of Alabama, Birmingham. They don't play they don't play anybody in the Conference USA too. So
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. But for what you guys got in the 7th round with Dwayne McBride, I think he ran for like 1,800 yards, like 20 plus touchdowns.
He's the leading rusher, I think, last year, wasn't he?
I believe he was number 1 in college football. I mean, if you're looking at numbers, yeah, you get really excited about it. But there's a difference between Dalvin Cook playing at Florida State and breaking all these records at Florida State and playing against good teams and being part of a former national championship team and all that stuff. There's that, and then you have Dwayne McBride, who is not even going to sniff the competition that Dalvin Cook had played before he got to the NFL. So, but in the 7th round, this is an A+ grade to me, though.
Ooh, A+. Okay.
This is an A+. I think this was an absolute steal. I'm surprised that he fell out of the 6th round, because I had him like at an early 6th round pick, but you guys picked him in the 7th round. That's insane.
I think it was like 250 something. It was late in the 7th round as well. So
yeah.
But to be honest with you, we have, obviously, it looks like Dalvin Cook is more than likely gone from the team. So that leaves Alexander Mattison as the running back 1, Ty Chandler, and Kene Nwangwu. So Kene is more of the kick returner guy. I don't think he's going to get a bunch of touches on the offense. But Ty Chandler, that's an interesting person, because I think we're going more of the running back by committee role. So where would you kind of put McBride in that mix there? Obviously, you would put him probably over Kene, because, again, that's more of a special teamer. But where do you put him in comparison to Ty Chandler?
I think it's going to be a competition between him and Ty Chandler, to be completely honest with you. But I think Ty Chandler is going to take the edge, though. Knowing the system a little already like he does. And I think that's really the only advantage, because their skill sets are very similar, to me at least.
Yeah.
So, but, it's really just a flip of the coin on how their preseason is going to go. I think, Kevin O'Connell's going to fall in love with one of those guys.
For the Vikings, right? Would you agree?
I think so. Yeah, I really think so. I know we're probably going to get into the undrafted free agents too.
Oh, but yeah, I know you got something to say.
I actually have a lot of positive to say too about some of the guys that you picked up. But
we definitely got some positives, and we may be getting the negative from Dante, than from people that you don't think should be getting the negative. So, but anyway, A+ for Dwayne McBride.
A+,
A+ for Dwayne McBride, and you think he's gonna battle Ty Chandler for that running back 2 spot?
Yeah, facts.
All right. So we're going to get to our undrafted free agents. Free agents, Dante. You ready?
I'm ready.
So we're going to start with maybe the one you don't like. And I just put the top 2 undrafted free agents up, and I don't want to go over, 12 or 15 undrafted free agents that we brought in. So I'm just going to go over the top 2. Feel free to throw an undrafted free agent in the comment if you guys want us to tap in about it or want Dante to talk about it, because I probably won't be able to. But first one, Ivan Pace. A lot of fans are high on Ivan Pace. He was, again, going back to PFF scores, was the number 1 rated linebacker and pass coverage and everything. And how do you feel about Ivan Pace? Because Vikings fans are extremely high on Ivan Pace.
The best team he played last year was Arkansas, and Arkansas was poop last year. So what does that tell you? I mean, again, it's not so impressive when you're number 1 in a whole bunch of linebacker categories when you played nobody versus let's throw in there like a
Florida though, or was that in the bowl game? They played Florida.
I can't remember who they played in the bowl game.
They played Florida. Because his one biggest highlight was against that guard out of Florida. What's his name? Osiris.
Oh,
didn't you guys pick him up?
No, that was the Bills that picked up Osiris.
Bills, that's right. Osiris.
Yeah. I mean, good. I'm glad that you got a pancake on somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like it happened once, and I mean, but people are blowing up Ivan or Osiris Torrance like he's such a monster too. I mean, let's not act like Osiris Torrance is this absolute demon. He came over with Billy Napier once Billy Napier came over from Louisiana Lafayette. He was a bottom 5 conference guy that came over to a Division 1 team, and as a unit, Florida was 6-7, and Anthony Richardson got absolutely reached on for the Colts. So, I mean, what? If you want me to be honest, that's
sorry, Colts fan. If there's any Colts fans watching, sorry.
Yeah, I apologize, but I don't. Good luck. That's all. That's all I'll say. The best draft pick they got was Josh Downs. So you guys are gonna design a whole bunch of dump off passes, and Josh Downs is gonna make Anthony Richardson look better than he is. But I just call it like I see it.
Hey, Michael Pittman, man, Michael Pittman too.
Yeah, Michael Pittman, yeah. But just going to Ivan Pace, like, that might have been the best team that they played with Arkansas. But again, when I watched him in practice at the Senior Bowl, the dude was super, super duper lazy. He got burnt a couple times in coverage, which is one of the things that he's supposed to be good at, right?
Strong in, yeah.
And I believe he was a national team MVP, which they give that out to both teams, the American and national team, for the Senior Bowl. But it doesn't necessarily you have to perform out of your mind too. But I mean, he's probably an incredible human being. So, people in the comments don't think I want all these kids to do well. Like I do. Even Anthony Richardson.
Analysis on their game.
Yeah, I would never judge a dude by his character, but also on the other side, just because a dude has a really good interview, it doesn't make him a good player either. So that doesn't swing me one way or the other. I strictly judge these guys on what they showed me on film. But Ivan Pace Jr., it just seems like he got a lot of opportunities in garbage time to create a lot of big plays. So when you see highlights, sometimes they don't even show you what the scoreboard is, but having a 1st and 15 after a false start penalty, and then you getting a sack, and then the next play after he gets the sack, then they get a first down, then that sack didn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like sacks are one of those things where it's like can be the most overrated stat because they can mean a lot and then mean nothing the next play as well. So but I just wasn't impressed by him, man. Everybody talks about his build, and I'm not a big like size guy because you see guys like Miles Jack and Levante David and smaller linebackers come in the league. And when we had Telvin Smith with the Jaguars, like amazing sideline to sideline tacklers, like can do everything all over the field. Devin Bush when he was with the Steelers. So that's not one thing I'll knock a player on. He's an inconsistent tackler too. Which is a problem. And this is my hot take. I even told somebody, I said bookmark it. He is not going to make your team. He's not going to make the Vikings active roster.
I'll actually go on a limb and say that he switches positions. I think he might move to edge rusher.
If he wants to save his career, that's what he needs to do. Strictly just focus on that.
I mean, that's his strength. So you obviously study him. If you were to give him his biggest strength, would you say it's probably pass rushing, right?
I would say it's his speed around the edge.
Okay.
Pass rushing. Yeah. But I would like him to be a little bit more physical. Here's what I would go tell him. I'm not a big Hassan Reddick fan. Never has been. I think he's overrated. But one thing I can tell you Hassan Reddick does is he's able to push those tackles to and circle those guys where the quarterback feels a little bit of pressure. Even if he gets no hands on them, he's so quick, even though he's not all that physical. Yeah. So if I was to teach Ivan Pace anything, is to go look at Hassan Reddick's tape and see how many times that Hassan Reddick has actually knocked the ball out of a quarterback's hands by a pass rush. That's what I would tell him. Don't worry about your physicality. Just worry about your speed and trying to put eyes on the ball and see what you can do to make a play there.
Okay. But, so if he does say this is all just kind of fantasy and what we would do, but say Ivan Pace does switch to the edge rusher role, and would you say Hassan Reddick would be kind of his comparison, or what would be his comparison now? Just coming in as he is.
his NFL comp. That's difficult because I don't really know if he's kind of unique.
Yeah.
He's kind of unique because he doesn't do anything like amazing too. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, how can I give a comp on somebody that really doesn't remind me of anybody? Just a lazy version of these. I would say Hassan Reddick. Yeah,
He's just he becomes an edge rusher.
Yeah. He's just a Hassan Reddick type. But I wouldn't get too hype over Ivan Pace. I mean, the plays that they're called highlights for a reason, but if you look, 70% of the games that he plays in, he's non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
Until like one play he comes out of nowhere and does something. It's like teams are not going to look for that. Teams are going to look for a guy that consistently pushes and makes his teammates better, first of all, but also makes an impact on every single play. And I don't think he does that. So I mean, I don't think he looks for the opportunities unless he, unless they really open and are very obvious to him. So that's one thing that you can watch is like, for a linebacker. So like Noah Sewell, right?
Yeah.
So I love Noah Sewell out of Oregon, but Noah Sewell was so good at everything, and you could see it. Like he had the pursuit, he could tackle, he was great in coverage. The dude had like two interceptions last year or the year before. Like, I mean, he goes and bats the ball down. He'll extend the play. Like he'll put his body on the line to extend and swat the ball down. He'll try to hand fight you, even a guard or center. He'll try to hand fight him and try to get a rush down. I don't think Ivan Pace is like that. Sometimes he looks lost to me. Like in the Arkansas game when I watched that film, he just looked lost. I'm like, are you scared that this is a SEC team and that these guys are, even the wide receivers are blocking you? But I don't know. I just never was really big on him over the mystique of what he could be. But watching him in practice too, it just takes a perspective a little bit further for me. It's like, now I know why you were the way you were in games. You might be an incredible leader, but your play doesn't show that. So,
yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next big name undrafted free agent, and that's Andre Carter II, edge rusher out of Army. How you feel about this one? Now, this is another guy that was actually, wasn't he like a top 5, top 6 pass rusher coming into this draft or something? I may be mistaken on that, but wasn't he highly touted going into this draft?
He was one of the top edge rushers, and then came to the Senior Bowl and stunk it up too.
It's a Senior Bowl thing.
Senior Bowl messed his draft stock all the way up. Again, you played at Army, you didn't really play a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
The things that people really like about him, the kid is super tall, super lengthy. Which you can work with, right? He's disciplined. Obviously, he went to Army, so he's disciplined. And I think when he really started to meet those top tackles and those top guards, he really started to have an issue, and you could see it. I mean, it wasn't like I felt one way about Ivan Pace and him being lazy, but I didn't necessarily think that of Andre Carter. I think Andre Carter just went against people that were just better than him, and you've seen that in practice. It was like, dang, I feel bad for him because of. Wow, to be highly, I was like, to be so highly touted, he looks like shit. So, but I think there's way more upside there than Ivan Pace. Okay, it's not. I don't think it's a confidence issue. It's just learning how to use his body correctly. And I feel the same way about him as I feel about Tyree Wilson. I understand why the Raiders took a chance on Tyree Wilson and him being a top 10 pick. Yeah. When I watched the film, it was frustrating, but I was like, he's like a big baby that doesn't really know how to walk yet, even though he has the potential to walk right now if he just believed in himself. You know what I'm saying? It's like that with Andre Carter too. We've seen you do it on film, but then as soon as you went against good competition, you shut down or whatever it was, or just wasn't confident. Once a really good defensive coach can get their hands around him and he learns how to use his length in his hands, and one thing about his footwork is not all that great either. So that might be part of the reason why. But he's not going to be the strongest. He's not going to be the fastest. But one thing he's got to do is use that wingspan and how tall he is. And I think I said this to my wife the other day. I was like, Andre Carter reminds me of Danielle Hunter without looking like a superhero. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, with
Danielle
no
Hunter looks
muscles.
like, but just like the stature, they're tall and lengthy. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And that's what he reminds me of.
Yeah,
So
and let's not forget Daniil Hunter coming out of college. He was considered a project. He was considered a raw, just athlete kind of specimen. But
and his problem's just health now. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
He shows you the talent. So I think Andre Carter will definitely be a shoe-in to make your active roster, though.
Ooh, okay.
I
You
I
think we'll make
really
the 53?
I think so. I think he'll learn. I think he'll learn how to use it. But again, I saw it and I felt bad, but I was like, I think his only downfall is that he had crappy coaches compared to Power Five schools having better coaches that are going to
Yeah.
be able to tell him how to use his stuff. So I think it was a learning experience for him during the Senior Bowl. And I want to see what he does in a preseason. He's definitely one of those names that I circled. I was like, man, he's not a high draft pick, but
I want to
undrafted free
watch.
agent, whoever he goes to, I want to watch him and see if he learned his learned his lesson. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To
Or
be
if it
so
was just
talented.
kind of a bad couple days or something for him.
It could have been. You just don't know mentally what people are going through, and it's so stressful. Having people that you don't know interviewing you the whole week. I mean, That's why I try not to be annoying in the interviews I had and stuff when I was out there at the Senior Bowl. But you having it. It's literally got to travel to somewhere that I'm probably not used to. They're going to Alabama.
Yeah.
It's not really a direct airport that goes down there, so traveling is a nightmare. Then you get there and you're with teammates that are in Power Five conferences that are bigger, faster, stronger than you. Then you got to practice for like 2 hours. Then you got to do interviews. Then you got to travel back to the hotel, and then you got to come to practice the next day and then do media. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it, man. It's stressful, and some people can't handle that. But I don't know. Maybe it was just the lights were a little bit too big for him too, and he finally put it all together. I'm like, all right, these are the guys I'm going to be going against on Sundays. I really got to step my game up, and I'm sure he's been. I haven't looked up anything in the offseason what he's been doing, but I'm sure he's been working on everything. He's a smart guy.
Yeah, so outside of those, I mean, those are the top two guys that everybody's talking about and excited about as far as undrafted free agents. Was there anybody else that you seen in that undrafted free agent list for the Vikings that caught your eye by chance?
Hold on, let me look up his name.
I know there's a guy named Jackie Chan that we picked up.
I don't know about him.
Jackie Chan, you guys look it up. Last name spelled Chen. Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan from Pace.
From Pace, yes.
What was his name? Malik Knowles.
Malik Knowles, okay.
Malik Knowles from Kansas State. He had three.
That's right?
Yeah, he had three return punts. And I remember last year people were like, "Yo, this kid, you know how they do in college? Oh, this kid gonna be the next," and he wasn't. So, but he was a pretty good receiver. I think he had like close to 500 yards. Okay. I mean, Adrian Martinez was a first-time quarterback there. He transferred over from Nebraska. Yeah, they had won the pack, the Big 12. But I mean, he's good. He's versatile, and I think he'll make your active roster because of how versatile that he is. You've seen him take a couple screen passes and end arounds and kick return, punt return, wide receiver. He might be like your number 5 wide receiver going into this draft or going into the season.
So hold on. Let me do this here. We're gonna. Okay, so Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne. Oh no, actually, you may be right. Because outside of those top 3, you're looking at Jalen Reagor, who could be cut. We could end up cutting Jalen Reagor.
Because you guys didn't pick up his 5th-year option, so he's going.
After Jalen Reagor is my guy Tristan Jackson, who I think should be on the team. But outside of that, Myron Mitchell, who's just a practice squad guy for the most part. And he may not even be on the practice squad anymore. I may have missed it, and he got picked up by somebody else. But outside of that, and Blake Prohl, another practice squad guy. Outside of that, you may be right. You may be right.
I honestly think that's what's going to happen, man.
Wow.
I think he'll make the squad with Andre Carter. Not too sure. Not too sure about everybody else. I mean, I remember seeing Ben Sims at Baylor a little bit, but nothing to write home about.
Yogi Howard says center from TCU looks doo doo.
Yeah, he was chatting me about the Allen Ali from TCU. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't looked too much into him, so I'll give Yogi the benefit of the doubt. He's the offensive line guy. So
don't look at the Georgia film. Don't look at
that was a whole
Jalen
disaster
Carter
for the
film.
whole. Yeah, it was a whole disaster for their whole team, though. Ooh, my goodness.
So you would say Malik Knowles is the other guy to look for from this undrafted free agent squad.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and
for sure.
Hey, when you talk about outside of my guy Tristan, who I think should be on the active roster next year, in my opinion, Malik Knowles has a good shot of making this roster. That's a bold take there. So your first bold take was Ivan Pace isn't going to make the roster. It's not necessarily a bold take because he's an undrafted free agent, but
he's undrafted for a reason, man. Exactly. That's what you got to tell yourself. Like, what is the biggest reason of why Ivan Pace got undrafted? Now, a lot of people will say Muhammad Ibrahim went undrafted too, and you were high on him. Yeah, but Muhammad Ibrahim is like 23 years old, had multiple injuries, and for a running back, they don't make it past the age of 30. He's gonna be 24 by the time he even touches the field. Yeah. So you really, I mean, he's got 6 good years of football left. Yeah, of course he was gonna go undrafted, but the Lions picked him up, they signed him, and he might be really good for those 6 years and then be done.
Yep.
On the other end, you have, Ivan Pace, who's in the opposite situation. Has put up numbers, number one in a couple categories, but when you watch the film, 75% of the time he's failing as a player. That's why he went undrafted. I mean, I'm not an NFL scout, but
just preaching.
I'm not an NFL scout, but there's a reason why. Andre Carter, same way. We had said that too when we saw him at the Senior Bowl. I looked over to my guys. I was like, this dude went from first round projection, second round projection to he probably gonna go undrafted after this.
Yeah, he was projected in the first round. That's crazy. That's crazy. So
this guy don't lie, man.
Yeah, that pretty much wraps up this draft recap for the Minnesota Vikings. Our next big kind of event for the NFL is the schedule release, which I think we're an exact week away. Yeah, May 4th to drop
11th.
May 11th. So next. Is it Thursday or Wednesday? It's Thursday.
Yeah, we're exactly Thursday. 1 week away.
Schedule release. We get to plan out our trips during the fall, what games we're going to. That's always fun. So after that, it's like 2 months of dead silence and Netflix specials. So enjoy it while we can, guys. But you know us, we'll be on here every week throughout the off season, obviously through the season as well. So be sure to tap in. Hit that subscribe button to Purple and Skull Media. And also hit that subscribe button to East Coast Gridiron. Give my guy Dante a follow and subscribe over there. He puts out great content, not just on Vikings players. Well, not really Vikings players. Every player that's coming out of college into the NFL. Be sure to tap in with that. Check out the slides. But anything else you want to say, Dante, before we get up out of here?
Man, just, be an independent thinker. Don't listen to anybody. Come up with an opinion on your own. Even mine. Even mine. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I always encourage everybody to do their own research because you know what? It makes you a better football watcher at the end of the day when you're not just hyping up your team just to hype up your team. It's okay to be a fan, but there's some delusional fans out there that just hype up everything just to hype it up, man. So, I'm a Jaguars fan, and I can't stand Trevor Lawrence. That's not the popular opinion. It's not a popular opinion, but I see what I see. So, but yeah, man, that's always my advice is just be an independent thinker. You rather be wrong by yourself than in a group of other people, man. So, it's okay to be a little bit bold, but you got to have the context. Yeah. As long as you got the context and can have a thought-provoking conversation, it doesn't seem so bad. But yeah, man, just again, he said, check us out at East Coast Gridiron. If you type it in Google, you can find us. You know, if you like stuff like this, just getting in-depth analysis. I'm actually getting the suggestion together about the figuring out how I'm gonna do next year's draft stuff. So I'm gonna have a PDF document that's gonna be available for a lot of people, and you know, you guys can see how I think about players, what timestamps and all that to make you guys better, man. So
yeah, get that football knowledge, that football food, man. That football food. Like Yogi says, film versus highlights.
Oh yeah,
film versus highlights. So again,
I'm gonna make that T-shirt, Yogi. I already got like the little logo and everything. I'm gonna make a T-shirt that has a. Yep.
All right, I'm getting one. I'm gonna rock it during the show. But thank you everybody for tapping in here on Purple and SKOL'd Media. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Thank you for tapping in. Until next time, peace.
See you guys.